Now to a developing story out of eastern Kentucky. A Letcher County district judge is dead after authorities say the county sheriff shot and killed him in the judge's chambers yesterday afternoon. Today, Sheriff Sean Steins is in jail while police try to pinpoint a motive.
All right, the grand jury indictment was just a few days ago. Steins said not guilty. That was his plea yesterday, but neither sheds any light on the million-dollar question. Why? Why did this happen? What do we know?
Sheriff's teenage daughter's phone number was already in the judge's phone. And that's what he's doing in the moments before he fires his weapon. So it's clear to me and clear to everyone that the motivation behind this is connected to the sheriff's teenage daughter.
Newly obtained audio recordings from a police interrogation allege Judge Kevin Mullins engaged in sextortion acts inside the same chambers where he was killed.
It turns out there are recordings about the dead judge that tie him to some very dirty business in that county. A sex for favors scandal.
So the sheriff kills this judge in his chambers because he sees his daughter's phone number on the judge's phone. And now we know that the judge was involved in this sex for pay scandal. What's going on here? This is Sheriff Sean "Mickey" Steins. He's the former sheriff of Letcher County, Kentucky, first elected in 2018 and then re-elected in 2022. Now, prior to being elected sheriff, Steins served as a bailiff in the Letcher County District Court under Judge Kevin Mullins. Now, Steins was the bailiff for Mullins for several years, and both men became really good friends.
Mickey and Kevin were really close and good friends. I never saw any hostilities between them.
Now, Judge Mullins has been a district judge in Letcher County for about 15 years. Now, before that, he was a prosecutor in Letcher County starting in 2001. His official title was Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney. Now, being a district court judge, Judge Mullins handles a wide variety of cases, like juvenile cases, things involving misdemeanors, or city and county ordinances, traffic offenses, probate and wills, arraignment, small claims, and civil cases. On September 19th, 2024, Sheriff Steins and Judge Mullins had lunch together at a local restaurant called Streetside. Now, there were multiple people who attended the lunch, and observers said there was no sign of tension or conflict between the judge and sheriff. At some point, Mullins did suggest to Steins that they should meet privately in Mullins' chambers.
According to Stamper's testimony, Mullins and Steins ate lunch at a restaurant nearby the courthouse that day.
There was nothing unusual that had arisen during that luncheon.
I was told that the judge made a statement to Mickey about, do we need to meet private in my chambers? That's all I was told.
Do you know the context of what the conversation was before that they would need to discuss in chambers?
I do not.
So now when both men arrived to the judge's chambers, Sheriff Steins used his phone to make a phone call. Then he asked Mullins for his phone, stating that he needed to make another call. Mullins then handed the sheriff his phone without any hesitation. Sheriff Steins typed in his daughter's phone number and was surprised to see that his daughter's phone number was already saved on the judge's phone. Now, service records from the phone shown that the sheriff attempted to call his daughter from both his phone and the judge's phone.
Stamper also testified additional video showed Steins looking at Mullins' phone several times. He said Steins tried to call his daughter and then tried to call his daughter from Mullins' phone as well.
Have you issued a search warrant for him?
Yes.
Okay. And have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes.
Sheriff Steins then produced a semi-automatic pistol, pointed it at Judge Mullins, and fired multiple times. The sheriff then started leaving the office, then turned back around and fired approximately 3 more shots into the judge. Then Sheriff Steins exited the chamber and surrendered to officers outside the chamber and reportedly told them, "Treat me fair. They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid."
Sheriff Mickey Steins is now charged with first-degree murder after immediately surrendering and telling officers, quote, they were trying trying to kidnap my wife and my kid.
We are following a breaking news alert. A judge shot inside a Kentucky courthouse, reportedly by the county sheriff, is confirmed dead.
Now, no one knew why this sheriff decided to execute this judge in the judge's chambers, but after hearing the information about the daughter's phone number being on the judge's cell phone, people started speculating that may be the reason.
Police officer testified that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on the judge's phone.
I was told that Sheriff Steins had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
Moments later, he shot the judge.
The sheriff's teenage daughter's phone number was already in the judge's phone. And that's what he's doing in the moments before he fires his weapon. So it's clear to me and clear to everyone that the motivation behind this is connected to the sheriff's teenage daughter.
Now, the sheriff's defense team is going with the defense of extreme emotional disturbance. Now, in most other states, it's called the heat of passion, and it's a recognized defense that can reduce a murder charge to a manslaughter charge, the difference between life imprisonment or 20 years in prison. Now, the defense team is going to have to show that the sheriff was acting under a temporary state of insanity, essentially. They got to show that whatever he saw, whatever information he had, enraged him so much in that moment that it was a reasonable explanation for his actions of shooting the judge. Now, the classic example is a married couple. One person goes to work, the other person stays home. The husband comes home and catches his wife in bed with another man, and the husband kills them both. That would be heat of passion. The husband wouldn't be looking at a murder charge, but a manslaughter charge, because the law recognizes that that situation is so extreme that it could cause a reasonable person to lose control. Here are the sheriff's lawyers explaining it.
At this point, we don't have a complete picture, but what I think was apparent very early is that there was a sudden inflammation of emotion that transpired in the moments just before the tape came on, in the clip that we saw. And so this tape was edited to cut out anything that happened just prior. And we think the moments just prior will tell the whole story. I don't know at this point what ultimately was on that phone. They're examining the phones, but we believe that based upon the statements that our client made just following arrest, as well as the indication that there was this exchange of phones or viewing of phones, that something in that moment made our client feel that there was no other choice than to do what he did.
So it almost sounds like you think he snapped. I mean, this was a reaction.
Well, yeah, and that would be textbook extreme emotional disturbance, with the textbook example always of finding your significant other with someone else, and in the moment, in the older case law, they referred to it the heat of passion, and that's pretty much the same line of reasoning that extreme emotional disturbance followed.
So now we have some new information that would blow this case wide open. See, the judge was not just some innocent guy. Allegedly, he's been involved in a sextortion scandal. Now, the allegations are against the judge and the judge's staff that they ran the courthouse like a brothel. A young woman would be arrested on some minor charges. She would be eligible for home confinement, but to get that home confinement, that woman would have to either sleep with the judge or one of the deputies so she could be eligible to go home. Now, what makes this even more concerning is that we have an eyewitness who says the judge was deeply involved in this full scandal, even participating and receiving sex favors from inmates so they can achieve their freedom. Now, your first question is, how do we know this witness is credible? Well, let me explain. This is Sabrina Atkins. Now, Sabrina Atkins, like many other Americans, fell on hard times. She's arrested in January for possession of a controlled substance in the first degree, methamphetamines. And then 1 month later, she was arrested for jumping bail on that particular charge. Now, because Ms. Atkins was a first-time offender, she was eligible for home incarceration. Now, for home incarceration, Ms. Atkins had to wear a monitoring device on her ankle, which required a fee. Now, Sabrina didn't have the money to pay for the fee, but she also didn't want to go back to jail. Now, Sabrina was in a desperate situation. She wanted to go home to her family, but she didn't have enough money to pay for the monitoring service. So what could she do? Well, there's a deputy, his name is Ben Fields, and he had a proposition for her. The deputy would waive the fee in exchange for sexual favors. So Miss Atkins, desperate to go home, did what she needed to do to get home. And she wasn't alone. Another woman, Jennifer Hill, also alleged that the deputy sheriff coerced her into having sex with him so she could remain on home incarceration. Ms. Hill said when she refused, the deputy had her arrested and placed back in jail. Now, together, these two women filed federal lawsuits against the deputy and the county. Now, the state investigated these allegations and found that Deputy Fields did, in fact, trade sex for favors in his official position as deputy. Now, because of the coercion and the fact that these were more inmates at the time, any sex between the deputy and an inmate was technically rape under state law.
Kentucky deputy is going to trial on Monday, accused of raping an inmate and offering favors in exchange for sex. Former Letcher County deputy Ben Fields was charged and arrested in 2021. Letcher County is southeast Kentucky, right in the Appalachian Mountains. According to court documents, a woman on home incarceration said she couldn't pay her ankle monitor fees. Prosecutors allege Deputy Fields waived those fees in exchange for sexual favors. According to documents, he also removed the ankle monitor for two women while they were in the home. He then went on to tell the courts that the woman had escaped. Victims say this happened multiple times with at least two women over the course of a year.
Now, after all the evidence was examined, Deputy Fields pleaded guilty to rape in the third degree, sodomy in the third degree, tampering with prisoner monitoring devices, and second-degree perjury.
Eastern Kentucky Sheriff's deputy has received a sentence for several charges, including rape and sodomy. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox gives us the latest on that. Eastern Kentucky Sheriff's deputy has received a sentence for several charges, including rape and sodomy. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox gives us the latest on that case.
Former Letcher County Sheriff's Deputy Ben Fields was indicted on several charges, including third-degree rape, sodomy, tampering, and perjury. Fields faced Pike County Circuit Judge Eddie Coleman via Zoom, with victim Sabrina Atkins in attendance.
I recognize that Ms. Atkins is a victim of this case, but I'm also believing that the criminal justice system is a victim of this case when people behave this way.
Coleman sentenced Fields to 7 years in prison. Victim Sabrina Atkins expressed a lot of emotion.
Just come and you see the impact this has had on me and my family. So how much this has taken time for me and my son. Here's one thing you gave me back, was knowing I was a strong, independent woman.
Fields will also be listed as a registered sex offender as a result of his actions.
Okay, so now you may be saying, Nate, we heard all that. What does this have to do with this Kentucky judge and the sheriff? Well, Deputy Fields was having sex with the inmates in Judge Mullins' office, which sounds pretty weird, but that is where he was committing these crimes at.
And in a new development, Steins was also accused in a federal lawsuit of failing to investigate allegations that one of his deputies, Ben Fields, allegedly repeatedly sexually abused a woman in Judge Mullins' chambers.
Now, when Sabrina Atkins met with police investigators, she gave a story that shocked the community. She said not only was Ben Fields, the deputy who was fired, involved, she also said that Judge Mullins was also doing the same thing, forcing women to have sex so they can be released on home confinement.
The woman heard on the recordings is victim Sabrina Atkins, who has been publicly vocal about her claims against the convicted deputy, using his position of power to pressure her and other women to have sex in exchange for favorable treatment. But she says Judge Mullins was involved as well.
He does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers.
What kind of stuff?
Just with girls, sexual and stuff.
What describe? Have you seen the video?
I've seen one partly, just him having sex with girls for the able to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups up there.
Who?
The judge and.
Now you saw the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you see on the video? I mean,
I've seen Judge Mullins have sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
I don't know. Because I don't know a lot of people from over there.
Where was it at?
In his office, in the judge's chambers.
Is that the same place that you were meeting Ben? Is that how you know it was the judge's chambers? And this was Judge who?
Mullins.
Now, Adkins' attorney has gone on record saying, quote, "It's like they were running a brothel out of that courtroom." And Adkins, along with another woman, filed a civil rights lawsuit against the deputy. Sheriff Steins was also named in the lawsuit, and he was deposed in the ongoing suit days before shooting Mullins back in September. But further in those recordings, Adkins can be heard saying Sheriff Steins was involved in the sexual scandal as well.
But you saw the video of the judge. Any other videos that you actually saw?
No. They say that the Sheriff Mickey Steins is involved. I don't know.
Who said that?
Chad, he said he had videos with Mickey. Mickey used to do the same thing when he was over house arrest.
So the judge, the sheriff, and the police deputies have all been implicated in this sextortion scandal. And don't forget, we're talking about major prison time if it was found out that the sheriff, the judge, and this deputy was doing it. Remember, the deputy got 7 years. All right, so when you don't think this story could get any more complicated, it seems to have gotten more complicated. Why was the sheriff's daughter's phone number on the judge's phone? Were the judge, the sheriff, and the deputy all in this sex extortion scandal? So I'm going to throw it to you. What do you guys think the sheriff's motives are to shooting this particular judge? Was it because of the daughter's phone number being on his phone? Was it the extortion scandal? Was the sheriff afraid that he was going to find himself in prison? Then if that's the case, why shoot the judge? And his attorneys are saying that this is all about extreme emotional disturbance. How does that play into all this? It seems like there's a lot of facts we just don't know, but it seems like they were doing a lot of dirty things in this little town, and it's all coming to light. If you like this video and you're listening to my voice right now and haven't subscribed to the channel, really, you're killing me. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to like our YouTube stuff. I'm gonna check you later. Peace.